Welcome back to Rides and Drives Team Radio. I am Kaz. I'm here with Harvey, and we are back for a very special episode because we're here to discuss the 110th running of the Indy 500, which we watched yesterday, have had a little bit of time to process and lay out how we want to talk about it. And wow, we can't wait to have this discussion.
Yeah, let's clarify. We didn't just watch this race. We were there to experience it. Obviously we did watch, we took a lot of notes, but being there was an incredible experience. Guys, get in line, put in your request for tickets for next year's Indy 500. If the racing's going to be continue to be like this, you're going to want to be there. It was unbelievable.
Outside of the racing, I've been to countless sporting events and big public events in my life, and I've never experienced anything like this. So go to the race. But there are a ton of videos and little talkies of us talking about the experience. And now, today, we're really excited to talk about the racing. But before we
Yeah.
get into it, there was a little bit of news post-race that is causing a little bit of a controversy. So we thought we'd start with that.
Yes.
Harvey, why don't you lay out what happened?
There was a penalty awarded in post-race inspection to the number 10 Chip Ganassi car. That would be Alex Palou. And they were given a penalty that amounted to, they stripped him of 5 championship points and fined the team $10,000 because their wingtip was out of spec. It was a little too low. It has to meet a minimum of height of 8.3 inches, and it wasn't that high. So they were penalized. Good. You should be penalized for making a mistake. But let's put this in context, because the reason they made the penalty so light, and this is a really light penalty, is they said it was unintentional,
Hmm.
that the mistake was, just that, a mistake. Okay,
Hmm.
it was, someone assembled the piece wrong. But let's talk about the qualifying incident, right? That pushed those
Yeah.
guys to the back of the grid. They used the wrong bolt. They didn't gain a competitive advantage. The wrong wing height potentially gives you a competitive advantage because it increases downforce. So
And the officials acknowledged with the penalty in qualifying on both Kaio and Jack that it was a miscommunication, that there was no, they believed that there was no intent to gain an advantage. It was just an accident in assembling the vehicle. Look, I
yeah,
am no Alex conspiracy theorist. I know there's this huge contingent of people online that believes either he's cheating or the series is pushing him or both. I don't believe that in this way, but it
right.
does feel a lot like for all my American sports fans out there. Sorry, Chiefs fans, but it feels like when the refs throw that yellow flag whenever Pat Mahomes gets like grazed on the shoulder. I don't blame the Chiefs for that,
Right.
nor do I blame Alex for getting a light penalty here, but it does feel a little bit like
Yeah,
protecting your superstar.
is
Which is
definitely
crazy because Alex needs no help protecting his
right.
championship advantage.
But this feeds the controversy, right? This
It does.
lack of transparency. And the other thing about this is Callum Ilott, he had the exact same infraction in last year's race.
Yeah.
He was moved to the rear of the grid and stripped of all the points he earned. So
Yeah.
same penalty, completely different reaction to it by IndyCar. Now we have a new officiating group,
Yeah.
and if this is the way it's going to be moving forward, great. If it's an unintentional thing, fine, we're going to fine you. We might take a few points away, whatever. But be clear about that. They need to, actually, IndyCar needs to come forward today and say, here's why this is only this, given what we did to Kaio
Takayo and Jack.
and Jack in
Yeah.
qualifying.
I agree. The optics here are really bad for IndyCar.
Yeah.
And again, to be clear, I really don't think if IndyCar, why would they push a champion who everybody is sick of seeing win? Like if they're looking to create an unfair advantage for some drivers, they certainly would look to other really popular figures. But like, guys, my Alex stuff on social media doesn't get as much juice as like Pato or Joseph does.
Right.
If they're looking to push a driver, I would think it would be pushing somebody who is competitive with Palou, because then you can push a championship narrative that you clearly want and they
Look,
clearly want, because they never
if
stopped talking about it last year, even when it was clear Alex had already won.
I
So
don't, yeah, I don't know the numbers because I haven't looked at championship standings, but my guess is if they had moved Alex to the back of the grid and moved and taken his points away from this race, that David Malukas would be leading the championship right
he
now.
would be. Yes,
Yeah.
he
Okay.
would be. Yes.
So, yeah, and guess how popular that would be.
Yeah, that would be huge. If IndyCar was
Right.
looking to do something to make the series more popular, if they were manipulating results in this way to enhance viewership, they would have penalized him incredibly harshly.
Right.
So I don't
So,
think it's just a like, hey, our superstars get a little bit of a nicer treatment. That's all it
you know what
is,
I'm going you know what I'm
and
going
I
to do?
don't like it.
I'm going to send a note. We have the official statement, right, from
Yeah.
IndyCar, but I'm going to send a note asking clarification from the IndyCar communications staff saying, just curious, why were Jack Harvey and Kyle Collette moved to the back of the grid for an unintentional, non-performance enhancing, um, infraction
Mhm.
during qualifying, and this didn't happen to Alex?
Yeah.
And
We just
and
want
if
to
we get an answer, we'll let you know on Thursday.
I just want to know. I'm just curious about it. You
Yep.
know, it feels a little hinky. I don't like it. So
Yeah.
be more consistent in your officiating IndyCar, please. And thank you.
Okay. So now let's move on to the good of the weekend, which was
Yes.
not just good, it was great. It was effing great. It was one of the best Indy 500s I've ever seen.
It was spectacular racing. And, you know, I do have this. Maybe it's because I was there, but I completely agree.
Well,
Um, uh,
yeah, 70 lead changes and
mhm,
they were swapping positions right from the start. Now, let's be clear, a lot of those early lead changes were, the thing that happens when you're drafting, and that was
mhm.
Alex and who was running with him at the start of the race. They
Alex was
yeah,
running with a number of different drivers at the
right,
start of
but
the
they were
race,
but
swapping
they
back
were
and forth.
swapping back and
Rossi, he
forth,
swapped with
right.
Malukas for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
They they
And
they
that's something you do in the early stages of the Indy
right.
500.
Because if one person leads the whole time, then you're slowing down the pack and using that, you're slowing down and you're letting the pack catch you. So, some of those early lead changes, but man, when we got into the heart of the race, wow, it was,
And something that I think the threat of rain really helped us here, right? Because it
right,
was after lap 101, whenever we had run more than half the race, and it could end if a sudden storm comes and whoever is in the lead at that point wins. Normally we get 50 more laps of them just kind of drafting back and forth.
right,
And then the shootout starts at lap 150-ish. For us to have them start rate, I mean, it was very clear around lap 100 that Pato wanted to be in the lead as much as possible, that Rosenquist wanted to be. They were all
Joseph,
fighting to hang on. Yeah, Joseph.
his
We'll get there.
pass, yeah,
We'll
his
get there.
pass, but, uh, you know, um, I think it
Yeah,
was no.
I think the
Oh,
rain.
McLaughlin made just an incredible, like
Yeah, he did.
4 car pass on a restart. It was unbelievable how those guys were going for it.
Yeah, it was an incredible last. It was a very good first 100 and an incredible last 100 laps. Um, it- we also got the closest finish in Indy 500 history. I'm sure we've all seen the photo by now. That's a quarter car length, if that.
Right.
0.022 seconds, I believe.
Yep.
Pretty
Yeah. 0.233 seconds.
233. All right, now let me ask you
Crazy.
this question, Harvey.
Yeah.
Have you seen the photo of the 345 finish?
No.
It's in your, I just texted it to you. Open your phone and take a look at that.
Let me see. Okay.
And for everybody listening, open up your phone and Google this photo.
Holy smokes. Hang
Between
on.
between Scott McLaughlin and Pato O'Ward, there were 0.006 seconds. Between Pato O'Ward and Marcus Armstrong were 0.008 seconds.
That is,
Inches
look
separating
at
three,
that.
four, and five.
Yeah, Newgarden's nose just bare. I mean, McLaughlin's nose
Yeah.
just barely over the line first. Wow, that is unbelievable and
It's a
crazy
because of the
because
finish photo, this one isn't getting as much attention. But guys, this is one of the coolest racing photos I've ever seen.
that is awesome, and it's really cool because we talked, in the post race press conference, I asked him specifically about how he managed to get from 10th to third in those restarts because I mean,
Yeah.
literally when I looked up at the finish board and saw him third, I was like,
How'd he
how
get
the
there?
heck, how did he get there?
I was so
And
busy watching Malukas and Rosenquist that
yeah,
I stopped paying attention to the 3-4-5 battle. Yeah, I was also
yeah,
really surprised to see Scott be able to capitalize off those restarts. And he told you,
yeah. He said, look, we just, you know, I was going to go or I was going to crash. And that
hmm.
was it. And he just pushed
And
like
he went.
mad on every restart and held the outside line, similar to what Rosenquist did, I think, to really take that finish. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Really, really incredible finish for all the top five runners. I couldn't have had a better time at the end of the race. We talked about that a little bit yesterday and the reaction in the room. So
Yeah.
we can move on a little bit. Um,
Let's talk about Rosenquist a bit and the race
yeah.
he had because and certainly, the month he's had.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, great performances. In practice, he was fast. In qualifying, he was fast until the Fast Six. And we talked about that on that podcast because maybe they didn't make the adjustments they needed to as the temperatures changed during the day.
Well, and look,
Um,
he was still fast. He just wasn't
yeah,
the fastest on
right.
that Fast
He
Six
was
run.
fourth, right?
Um, yeah, so
And then
I
having
I
a
was
baby at the beginning of the month
I
or
was so
13 days ago. Yeah.
yeah, 13 days ago. I was so impressed by his management of the strategy. Had it not been for those red flags, we likely would have had the same Indy 500 winner. I know there was probably going to be a fight between him and Pato, but he made every decision he needed. As we say, the Indy 500 is 150 laps of endurance racing and getting yourself set up. And where you are for those last 50 laps is what dictates whether or not you have the ability to fight for the win. And Rosenquist kept himself in that position the entire time, reacted
Yeah.
to the multiple red flags properly, reacted to the cautions that came out the way he needed to, pit at the right time. Again,
Yeah.
if it weren't for the final red flag, he still would have found himself in position to win. And then, God, I thought that Malukas on fresher tires, and
Yeah.
frankly, I'm looking at Alex Palou sitting in sixth on a restart with
Yeah.
tires newer than everybody else in the field, and I'm like, here we go again.
Yeah, let's talk
Um,
about that red flag a little bit because I think that's another one of those areas where conspiracy theorists like to jump in, right?
I've seen it pitched as slightly controversial online a little bit. I think most people agree that the red flag was the right decision there for keeping the race an entertaining finish.
Right.
Um,
Even the drivers. They
yeah,
asked
even
all the we in the post race press conference. They asked, the Penske drivers. They asked Rosenquist, was it the right thing to do? And Rosenquist, who had the most to lose when that came out, said,
yeah.
"Absolutely, we need to make this is for the fans. We need to make a great show. We couldn't finish under yellow."
It was a 10-minute red flag. They would not have had the ability to clear Colette's car and restart. They wouldn't have even given us it. It was absolutely a decision between finishing under yellow and finishing under green conditions with a red
Right.
flag. Um, By the way, you have to throw a caution either way, and that's also going to bunch up the field.
Right.
So, it's not.
Yeah, if
I have seen
my
a few
guess is
people make the argument that that's just racing, and while we like an exciting end, it's the rules of the race are that when you should throw a yellow, and it shouldn't be conditional. Well, I disagree with that. I at least understand the logic behind it, so
right.
I'm okay with that take. But I have seen a few like, oh, they threw the red flag so that like, oh, it's another Penske car
Right.
suddenly in position to win at the end of the race at Rogers Speedway. I
Right.
really don't think that has
Yeah.
I don't think
I
that played a factor at all. I think it was a decision between, hey, do we want to give an exciting finish or a yellow flag finish? And
right.
let's
And
choose
then
the exciting one.
anticlimactic. Yeah. And what they gave us was one of the most memorable finishes in IndyCar history. What they gave us was two drivers laying it, not just two, but the two at the front laying it all on the line, showing great skill, incredible respect for one another as
Hmm.
racers. They came together. I don't know if they touched, but they came pretty close a couple of times and out of turn, through turn four and down that front straight. It was very, very exciting. Well done racing. Um, yeah, so I don't have a problem with the red flag at all. I don't think it was conspiracy theory either
No.
for Malukas or Alex. And like you said, when they threw that red flag, we're like, oh, yeah, Malukas has fresher tires.
Yeah.
Alex has fresher tires. Those two guys have the advantage. Um, Alex surprisingly didn't move at all, you know?
Yeah, I know. I was really
Yeah,
expecting some
th-
movement from Alex. I actually
they
think
must have
he
just missed the trim on the car or something in the
he wound up
last.
moving down a position after the
Right.
restarts. So I something wasn't set up properly for him to perform the way that's a
Yeah.
situation that Alex just usually pounces on and capitalizes on. Hey,
Well,
maybe it was that low front wing.
yeah, he'd been good on restarts up to that point too. So I'm not sure what happened, but again, that's racing, right?
Yep,
and
exactly.
and and I think it gave IndyCar and it gave the fans a result that everyone's happy with now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, guys,
You know?
Rosenquist still won,
Yeah. Exactly. And
Um,
and and Mike Shank was funny in the press conference afterwards talking about the red flag and again, he agreed with it, but he wasn't happy about it.
no.
He was so unhappy about it he swore on live TV.
Yes, he did.
So,
Yes, he did. We had some emotional guys yesterday. And
yeah.
hey, speaking of emotional guys, let's talk about David Malukas. Uh, a wonderful race from this kiddo.
Yeah.
Just that's
Heartbreaking.
Indy.
Yeah.
That yeah, he did. He said it on the broadcast after, and he echoed this in the press conference. He feels like he gave 150%. He did everything he possibly could have. The team did everything they possibly could have. And it's
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking to watch these emotions live, but I think we all on TV, we all saw the despair. I do think as the press conference went on, we started seeing him
Yeah, his steel himself.
weave
Yeah.
this into his motivation for
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah, I think
I learned a
specifically.
lot about David listening to him at the press conference,
Yeah,
actually.
specifically at one point he said, "Look, I gave 150% this year. I'm going to have to give 160% to win next year." So, he's starting to turn that corner. And I asked him again, specifically in that press conference, um, you've got Detroit, you've got a championship to play for now. You're second in the
Hmm.
championship. How do you turn the page on this and move forward? When do you start looking forward? And he said, as soon as we're done here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
I mean,
taking this time to feel his feelings. He also, one thing he said that really fascinated me was that when he looks back on key moments in his life, this is paraphrasing, but when he looks back on key moments, he says, "Yeah, of course I remember the like some really big happy moments, but mostly I remember the disappointment." And we all think of David as this really cool, calm, casual, carefree guy. So hearing this kind of motivation through darkness storyline from him was a little bit surprising.
yeah,
I like getting to know him deeper. And I do understand, we've talked about what a nice fit he is at Penske, and this kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Right.
This it's not going to be long before David picks up a race win. It is heartbreaking for this to happen at the 500, though. We've got so many legends who Scott Dixon has run this race. He's been in the series 24 years. He's won this race once.
Once,
Mario Andretti won this race once.
his first
So
time out.
yeah. So
Chased victory after and had so many hard luck losses.
you just never know when you're
Right.
gonna get. You can Will Power won his world championship before he won his first Indy 500. Alex Palou won multiple world championships. I know Alex didn't have to wait as long, but you know
Yeah.
we've got we've got legends who have only won this race one time and run it dozens of times.
Yeah. And there are
I
legends. There are
understand
legends
David
who haven't
feeling
won
like
this
maybe
race.
yeah, absolutely. I
So,
understand David feeling like maybe I'm going to win a championship and never get the 500. And while a championship is obviously your face on the Borg Warner, that's forever.
yeah.
The Indy 500 is something. I think that when you're a
Well,
IndyCar driver, winning
yeah.
the Indy 500 is the first thing you dream about.
Rosenquist said if they awarded no points for this race, it would still be the most important race on the calendar.
Oof.
He said that in the press conference. He also said, he said that finish is exactly how I've dreamed it. Coming out of turn four and passing someone for the win. He said, I've had that dream so many times. I never expected it to come true. Normally when someone wins, they're, leading and have are kind of breathing easy out of that last corner. No, this was the way he dreamed it and the way he wanted it.
I'm so
So,
happy for him and for his fans. Who,
so
by the
those
way,
are,
there was still a contingent of Swedish fans waiting outside of the media center at 7 p.m. when I finally came out, waiting to see Rosenquist come out and get his signature. So I thought that that was awesome. I do want to talk about one more thing from the press conferences, and
oh yeah,
it's about Scott McLaughlin and the way when David came in, Scott was in the middle of talking about David.
right.
Um, Stopped, gave him a huge giant hug, and then every answer that he gave throughout the rest of the press conference, I really got the sense was kind of tailored to help bolster his teammate. I thought it was really nice. It's just another reason to
Yeah.
really appreciate Scott McLaughlin. He was also really happy with his finish. So
Yeah.
just for it was two different attitudes from the Penske drivers, and obviously Scott came from 10th to take third. David
Right.
lost first. So
Right.
that's tough, but it was really nice to see him. He said that his mom told him that the Indy 500 is like it's
Oh yeah.
Christmas morning, but only one kid gets a present.
Yeah.
And you wake up thinking it's Christmas, I'm gonna get my present, and then at the end of the day, only one kid gets one.
And
And
this
I
year, Felix Rosenquist got the present.
and I thought that that was just a really funny and you know David's got a lot of year. He's raced this. I hate to do the like, oh, just a kid, so he did,
Right.
but he's only been here a few times,
Right.
and he's only been here in this level of disappointment once. There are a lot of drivers who have suffered this multiple times.
Right.
So I think that he's gonna bounce back.
Yeah.
And
I
I
have no
really
doubt.
do hope that he's not one of those legends who never gets a 500 win because it clearly matters to him so very much.
Right. Let's also oh, if people want to see that moment between Scott and David, go to our socials. We took video. I did manage to grab some video of that, and it's just a nice, you know, teammate supporting teammate. I think my headline for it was "Brothers in Arms."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
was really nice.
it was a nice moment. So let's talk about the race, some highlights, other highlights, maybe a few lowlights, and then the
Yeah.
good, the mid, and the bad of the results for the teams.
Yeah, so I think in going over highlights, there were so many excellent passes. Obviously, McLaughlin, we talked about that
Yeah,
beautiful one McLaughlin put on it somewhere in the first, I don't know, somewhere between like lap 50 and 70.
yeah.
Really, really gorgeous pass there. But I think this
No,
race
that was
really,
that was a little bit later. It was a restart.
Oh,
around
that's
lap
right.
one
It was
after Joseph's
That's right. It was after
crash.
Joseph's incident. Either way,
Yeah.
a lot of great passes that happened in this race, but I think that this race is one that makes sense to talk about it in terms of the incidents and yellow flags.
Yeah.
So, first, we have a massive bit of disappointment, a huge low light right off the bat. Catherine Legg will not be able to finish the double. Ryan Hunter-Reay lost control of the car,
Yeah. And he
and
talked about how
Catherine
it
did
was.
everything she could have done.
Yeah, he talked about how it was greasy, all in that early stint. He had no rear grip. He'd been fighting it the whole time. He came out of the corner, just lost it. Catherine did what you're supposed to do, which is steer toward the spin and assuming the car will move out of the way. Unfortunately, the car kept moving up. And then she, at the last minute, veered to go down the track to avoid it and had to turn so severely she lost control of the car. And yeah, it was unfortunate.
She did everything she possibly could have, and by making that final adjustment, she probably saved Ryan Hunter-Reay a whole lot of pain,
Yeah.
um, at the
Yeah,
very least,
she would have
if
T-boned
not
him.
some damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
She definitely helped make his day a little bit easier to manage. Um, this is petty. I do wish that he had apologized to her,
Yeah. Yeah.
or at least acknowledged that he took her out.
Acknowledged. Yeah.
That's pretty standard practice, right? When you take out another car, even if it's not like a terrible incident of yours, it is pretty standard practice to.
Yeah.
And look, maybe he spoke with her personally. I don't know, but it would have been nice on his TV interview. He had all the time in the medical center to think about what he was going to say. It would have been
Right.
nice for him to just, yeah, shame Catherine can't do the double. I really feel for her.
Yeah.
Would have been great.
Yeah, then the next incident was Ed Carpenter and his little scuffle with Takuma.
Which
Um,
took Ed out of the race.
yeah, and Ed clearly wasn't happy.
No.
And after looking at several angles of the incident, I have to agree with him. I mean, Takuma it was a three-car wide going into the turn, and Takuma was on the high side. He, if he wasn't, he started out behind and was moving forward, so he knew Ed was there, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now, three wide into any corner in Indy is a recipe for disaster. And when he came down just a little bit into Ed, spun him, Ed's in the wall. I don't know. I don't think they penalized Takuma at all for that. But it was borderline. It was right on the line between a racing incident and a failure to give enough room to make the
If
corner.
if this were Formula One, we could say it's a little naughty, is what you're telling me.
Yes, it was a little bit naughty. So that was unfortunate for Ed Carpenter, which just started the chain reaction of bad day for Ed Carpenter because the next one was Alexander Rossi's car coming in
Yeah.
and on fire.
Yeah. Will had a spin in the pits, and then when Rossi came in, I God, poor Alex Rossi to have the same moment at Indy 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
And and in particular, given that he talked about how now he really appreciates the tragedy that Indy can bring you,
yeah,
to go from his incredible qualifier to that crash on Monday to feeling, I mean, he did say he felt fairly good about the car. He said that the leg
yeah.
motion was different but not unmanageable. I don't know. And he
He
was
was
racing up
very
front.
racy. He was
He was
very
racing up
racy
front.
early in the race. Yeah. No,
It,
it
it's
was.
it's just a real bummer for him, and I wish that he had had a better day. I wish that if he had gotten taken out, it wouldn't have been because of some silly mechanical issue in the pit lane.
Right.
Um, you know,
Yeah, but and
but
and
hey, here's another entry in the tragedy for him. So when and if he's got
y-
another great moment at Indy, he can appreciate it all the more.
right, right. Then we had Joseph's incident on the restart, which was so unfortunate, right? Coming out of the red flag, the
Such a
track's
bummer.
dry. He drops that wheel on the rumble strip, and the
Hmm.
car just went. It was It was pure mental error, right?
Yeah, it's a mistake I don't expect to see from Joseph on this particular track. He
Right.
really is one of the most skilled drivers at IMS, and man, was he looking good prior.
Yeah.
I
There's
there is a chance that if we had not lost Joseph at this point, that we could have wound up with a Penske 1-2-3 because you have to
yeah.
imagine if Joseph is running up there with Malukas, he's going to be blocking Rosenquist. He'll fight Malukas for the win, but he's
Right.
also going to try and block the other cars.
Yeah.
So that's a nutso alternate reality to think about, and that definitely would have spurred a lot of red flag conspiracy theorists. But
Yeah.
um, it's as a fan of his personally, it's disappointing to see him go out like that, and
Yeah.
just not
Let's
a mistake I expect from him.
One quick side note, because F1 Twitter was like, "Oh, Indy cars can't run in the rain." And it's like, "No, Indy cars can run in the rain and they do on road and street courses.
Yes.
At the Indy 500 where the average speed on a lap is 216 miles an hour, there is no way you can run in the rain. I don't care what tires you put on the car, without the cars running so slow and in such a parade that it's not
Yeah.
racing. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw what happened at Spa a few years ago with F1. They ran two parade laps and called it a day.
Yeah.
No, so get over it. There's no racing in the rain at the Indianapolis 500.
And it's
So,
not because the IndyCar drivers don't know how to drive in the rain or
right.
they're scared to drive in the rain. They drive in the wet all the time on
Yep.
road courses and street courses on a super speedway with highly banked corners. And you guys, I mean, the numbers are one thing, but you can't really, when you're standing there and you're looking up
Yeah.
at the,
It's from the
it's
bottom
not
of the corner to the
there's no
top
way to do it
is
safely.
it's a two-story house, right?
There is no way to do it safely. It is
Yeah.
not possible. So that's why, guys, just so you know, I would like to do a segment that is just Kaz earnestly responds to online criticisms from F1 fans, just like with
Okay.
actual explanations about why.
Yeah.
And that's why, Bob.
Then our next incident was Kaio bringing out the final red flag, and we've all talked about the
We've
controversy
we've
around
talked
that.
about the red flag and the controversy, but I do also just want to take this moment to note that that's such a shame for Kaio.
Yeah.
Um, Recovering from a penalty that maybe was a little harsher than it could or should have been.
You speed in
And
pit lane, you get a drive through. That's it.
no, well, no, I'm talking about his qualifying
Oh,
penalty.
his
He
qualifying
being
penalty.
able to being
Oh
able
no,
to
it was
come. Yeah,
Hauger who sped
yeah, it was
in pit
Hauger
lane.
who sped in
Sorry.
pit lane, and we'll get to
Yeah.
him. Kaio came back from starting at the back of the grid after a really good qualifier and then getting knocked back. He really seemed like he was overcoming a lot of adversity and made
Yeah.
it through the vast bulk of the race. So just a shame to see him go out like that at the very last minute. The red flag, as we discussed, did create just a photo finish.
Yeah.
Literally, there
Two
are
photo
so many
finishes.
great photos. So I really, it's a shame. I feel for him.
Yep.
I do look forward to seeing him race here more in the future
Yeah.
because he showed a potential understanding of how to do this right,
Yeah.
and
And
that's really cool.
when he was running up front, he was not holding back.
No.
He was like, I know how to drive this car. I know how to drive this track. I'm not going to be afraid of anybody. You want to pass me, pass me. I'll get you back next time.
Hmm.
He really ran what I thought was a great race.
When
Um,
I look at a rookie at IMS, I want to see promise, and he showed that in spades. Let's just touch the other rookies real quick. Dennis Hauger, as we mentioned, was actually also doing a really solid race today,
yep,
and then sped in pit lane, drive through penalty, clear as day.
yep,
Um, Ended his race. That's a shame, but that's an error that he made. So it's a little
right.
less heartbreaking. And that leaves us with Mick Schumacher as Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, been
Congratulations to Mick.
highest finishing rookie. A good clean race.
Yeah,
Got
did
I
nothing
think
wrong.
at one point he was trying to make sure he didn't get unlapped. I think, with that group and got a little spicy, mixed it up a bit, which was kind of fun to see him do that. But yeah, it was a decent race for Mick.
He finished on the lead lap at his first
Right,
Indy 500.
right.
That's really nice.
There are Indy Rookie of the Year winners who finished lower than he
Yeah.
did. So
So
let's keep.
good job, Mick, and
Yeah.
also great job, Kaio. I know it didn't end the way you wanted it to, but it was still a really fun drive to watch. So
So let's talk about, speaking of good and bad, let's talk about the teams that had good days and the teams that had bad days.
yes, let's. I think the good days are super duper clear. Meyer Shank had an incredible day. Felix Rosenqvist won the race, and Marcus Armstrong, who I really did not expect to finish so highly, finished fifth. That's
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic for Meyer Shank. And for Marcus, who has said, I want to find more spectacular moments. He did have a few of them. Didn't get him the win here, but that's
right.
fine. It's Indy. He looked
Yeah.
great, and I, you know,
He
Meyer and
probably,
Shank were very happy to
oh
talk about
yeah,
the future of their team, and you know, another story there is Elio buying in, and what he's brought is
right.
also, it was also a really,
In there,
they say
yeah,
is a huge help for them. So
talking to them in the press conference afterwards, it was clear that they're ready to start putting their names in when people talk about Andretti,
mhm.
McLaren, Penske, and Ganassi. They said, look, we know people look at us as sort of the top of the mid pack now, but we're ready to be in that top group of teams.
Yeah, they seem to feel like this is a precipice moment for them. And
Right.
maybe it is. You know, you just finished so strongly in the Indy 500. What can you give us next to cement that? Now, Felix did say historically the Indy 500 winner does pretty poorly at Detroit, and also it's not a strong track for him. So he did tell us not to
Yeah.
look out for him to go
He,
back to back.
he's
Um,
already sandbagging for Detroit.
but
So,
I think the general overarching feel from Meyer Shank after this race is that that was a huge step up for them. And
yeah,
then the other team who had an overall really great day is going to be Team Penske. Yes, Joseph did have, you know, a pretty rudimentary error that you don't expect from him, but a 2-3 finish from your other two drivers wipes that
right,
disappointment off the board for that team. And there is still, looking at Joseph's performance, there is still stuff positive that you can take
right,
from that. He looked
totally.
great. He just made a mistake. So
Yeah,
moving forward into other races this season, God, it's, man, it's, we haven't run the numbers yet, and we'll talk about why later. But Penske's got to be
yeah,
really pulling away with it at this point. They, after last year, seeing Penske come together as a team like this is really impressive, and I think it speaks to Jonathan Duguid and his management.
yeah. I agree with you. So teams with bad days, we have to start with Ed Carpenter Racing because that was a really bad, horrible, no good day.
3 DNFs,
Three DNFs. Yeah,
two
they're
mechanical, one incident. That's awful.
yeah. It's a bad day for a team that going into this season looked like they were going to be where Meyer Shank is right now.
Well, and
They had a lot of momentum coming out of the year. They started out decently at St. Pete. I thought, I this is just man. It was
And the
ugly.
500 also is a race where you really do, not just is it a double points race, but Rossi has historically done well here. And
Yep.
it's kind of Rasmussen's bread and butter too. I know that this is, it's really short ovals where he
But
shines, but you do
and
expect him to put in a strong performance here. Ed qualified fairly well. So real disappointment from them on
yeah,
race day.
yeah, no one on the track with much more experience than Ed. I think Dixon maybe on the 500. Dixon Power, might be the guys who have more, but Ed knows this track. He's started on pole several times. Rossi, obviously a race winner. Rasmussen, I think at times in the race looked pretty good, but
Yeah.
um, in the end, bad day for them.
Yep. Bad day for RLL as well.
Yeah.
I know Takuma finished 10th, but you expect more from 10th out of Takuma
I
Sato.
certainly
Yeah,
expected
you
more.
did.
And we'll talk
And
about that later.
none of
Ugh.
their drivers did anything else really to. I know we just said that Mick won
Yeah,
the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year,
but he was
but that's
18th.
but he was
Right.
18th, and that's the best news that ROL has coming out of this race.
Right.
So
Louis Foster 21st, Graham Ray Hall 20th. Not good.
yeah, not good from them at all. I'm gonna say Andretti had a pretty bad day.
Yeah, I agree with you. To not have a driver in the top 10.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
especially the way they never really looked fast all month, but they kept talking about it like it's not a big deal.
yeah.
Um, Even
It,
during the race, you hear messages between Kyle and his engineer, and we're on track, we're hitting targets, it's all good.
yeah.
I think,
Yeah, talking to Kyle after qualifying,
yeah,
and he's like, "Oh no, race pace, we're great. We're gonna
he
be,
was smiling, he was in a good
even,
mood.
yeah."
Yeah,
I don't know
but
if they were just bluffing or whatever, but again, this is what we talked about at the beginning of the season with Andretti. If they really want to be seen as a top team, they need to start putting performances together. And while they've shown flashes, the consistency just isn't there.
yeah, you can't rely on a few spectacular wins here. And notably, yesterday, Kyle Kirkwood is no longer Alex Palou's main championship rival. David
Right.
Malukas moved into second place in the championship, and Ganassi is looking less and less like, or sorry, Andretti is looking less and less like a rival that Ganassi needs to be scared of. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if it's false bravado or if they genuinely believe what they're saying, but I think they need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. Especially, Indy is the pressure cooker that proves where you are.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, yes, there's random luck that happens. People get taken out not for any fault of their own, or whatever. But it's 500 miles. It's the fastest, most stress you're going to put on a vehicle. So if you have flaws in your engineering, you're going to find it there.
Yep.
So
And then our final bad day, well, Alex Palou finished seventh. That's not an Alex Palou performance. And I think Ganassi over on what were Dixon and Simpson were 14, 15, I believe. Um,
yes. Yeah. Simpson 14, Dixon 15. That is not where you expect Chip Ganassi cars to finish the 500. That's not where you
mm-mm.
expect the reigning champion to finish when he runs a good race,
Yeah,
solid race. He had plenty to, and like we said earlier, when the red flag flew and we saw him with the freshest tires sitting in sixth place, there was there were a lot of people, not just us, in the media room who were like, "Oh,
Alex has the freshest tires.
let's watch out for Alex."
Keep your eye on the 10 car because Alex has the freshest tires of the bunch. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not what they should have been able to do. So bad
No.
day for Ganassi.
Speaking of
And then
bad
we had
days, oh, I
yeah.
was going to say, speaking of bad days, let's talk about the victory lane game. But if there's something else you want to talk about first,
No, I do want to mention one more good day
okay,
actually. I was really pleased with the broadcast. I know we weren't watching it start to finish from our couches,
right.
but
It was
what we
on in the
did
media
watch in the
room.
media center, I really enjoyed. Will Buxton's call at the final lap is legendary. That I'm going to listen to that call multiple times. I really, really liked it. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. Really
Yeah,
great. And one of the most critical places on earth, a Reddit message board, had glowing reviews about the Fox broadcast. So great job. I agree. I
yeah.
think they did a really good job.
No,
And notably, there were no ad breaks after lap 155.
yeah,
They did their
and
final ad break at lap 155. So yes, they did front load the beginning a little bit. And of course, while they were driving around under caution, waiting to see if the rain would dissipate or not,
right.
they ran some ads during that. Why that's the perfect time to load up all your ads. But overall, I thought they did a fairly decent job with the ad
Yeah,
timing. And you have to sell ads for the Indy 500.
right.
It's America.
All right, now let's talk about my bad day.
Yes.
Victory lane game. I I literally couldn't have been more wrong in my selections.
I don't know who's having. I think what we have here is like a David Malukas and Alex Rossi
Yeah.
situation, right? Like everything went wrong for you the whole time. I was looking real good up
Yeah.
until the moment I wasn't. So let's go through what we had. Third place on the podium, you had Santino Ferrucci. I had Joseph Newgarden. I
Yep.
super duper believe that that would have happened if he hadn't have crashed.
Yeah. And
So
Ferrucci had a decent but
Ferrucci had a decent race. Yeah.
unmemorable performance. Okay.
Yeah.
Second
Um,
place.
Second place, I had Pato O'Ward, who, again, if it weren't for that red flag,
Yeah.
was running in second. And, entirely possible that I could have gotten that pick
Although
right. But
he was on a fuel save,
he
but you
was on
never
a
know.
fuel save, but I still think he could have finished on the podium. Malukas was
Sure.
probably not going to be able to catch up with them. I think there
Yeah.
was like a 16-second gap
Second
with
gap. Yeah,
10 laps,
we were
something like
looking at
that. And he
that. Yeah.
wasn't picking up enough. So if
Right.
Pato hadn't have run out of gas, he probably would have finished on the podium. That would have been
Right.
points for me. But no, you had Alex Palou. Smart decision,
Yeah.
but
Seventh. Nope.
didn't didn't do it today. And then finally, winning the race, I
You
had
had
David
Malou.
Malukas.
It ripped from your hands, so you get a point. Two
No,
points
I
for
get 2 points because we're doing double points for
right.
Indy. Malukas was in fact on the podium, but he did not win, which is where I had him. Two
Yep.
points
And
for that.
I had Takuma Sato.
And you had to go with Soto, which was a
So,
nice, it was a bit of a
but
long shot pick, but a nice, reasonable one.
and
And he
finished
didn't.
10th, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Biggest mover. I had Joseph Newgarden, who sure was the biggest mover until he wasn't.
until he wasn't. Yep, you're right. And I had Catherine Legg who finished last.
Yeah, literally finished the race last.
Yeah.
Could not have moved up less. I want you to go first for biggest bust because this is hilarious to me.
Yeah. Not only did my biggest mover finish last, my biggest bust won the race.
You chose Felix Rosenquist as biggest bust, and he
Well,
won
you
the
know, it
race.
was actually, this was really funny because in the press conference, Mike Shank talked about, I know how everybody views us. They're not ready to buy in yet. They're all, and we talked
Yeah,
specifically about that on the podcast going in, that we saw that they were fast. We saw that they were good, but we weren't quite ready to believe. I think we're ready to believe now. So,
I'm buying it now. I'm wearing a Rosenquist shirt.
yeah,
Really cool one. I wish he had one in this
awesome
livery. This
Rosenquist.
Grateful Dead livery is
Yeah,
so great.
yeah,
Um, my biggest bust, I I got a nice break on this one. My biggest bust was Alex Rossi. My reasoning was wrong because I thought he wouldn't be able to hang in with the injury in the backup car. But well, the backup car couldn't hang in. So
yeah,
plus 2 points for me on biggest bust as well because
yeah.
Alex Rossi started second and did not finish the race. So I am at +4. And you know what, Harvey? Because of how hilarious it is that you picked the loser, the last place finisher. Although I think I know why Leg is listed last and Hunter, but I
Yeah.
do think she should be 32nd instead of 30. Whatever.
Yeah.
You chose the last place driver as biggest mover and the first place driver as biggest bust, and it makes me laugh so much that
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a half a point.
Aw.
You
I don't
can
know if I can live with myself for that, but
No,
that's
it's for
fine.
entertainment. It's for the
Okay.
entertainment value.
The
It really made me chuckle.
and then plot twist, we have to wait on mine because we have to wait for the ratings to come out because I said the broadcast would be more than 8 million people
Which I
viewing.
think stands a really good chance of happening
Yeah, we'll
given that
see.
qualifiers saw 1 million viewers. That's quite a lot
Right.
for qualifiers. My plot twist, I'm gonna have to make an argument here. I predicted word for word, I said no rain on Sunday.
Right.
Now, obviously that's not true.
Right.
It did, in fact, rain, and it rained enough that the race briefly had to stop. There was a 12-minute red flag so that they could let this little squall go past.
Yep.
I've learned a lesson about how I word my predictions in the future. But the spirit of my prediction is that the race would go forward in a reasonable time window.
Right.
So I would like to argue that while I do not deserve points for it, I don't deserve a large deduction. I did
Uh,
gamble 6 points, though. I made the choice to gamble. I made
yes,
the
you
choice to
did.
word it that way.
You gambled 6 points. I am going to, because they completed the race with literally within the broadcast window, right? The race did
That's how
not
I should have worded it. The race will go forward within the broadcast window.
the so you know what? Let's call it even.
I can take a
Let's
0.
yeah. Let's, instead of -2, right? Which
Minus
was what,
6, man.
minus,
Well, yeah,
well,
I would have been -2 on the day because I have a plus
yeah.
4.
So we're gonna give you so it's uh instead of taking 6 points away, we're gonna take 4 points away.
Okay, so I come out as a wash on the day.
Yeah. I
I
think
think
that
that's,
I think that's
I'll take it.
fair. And I want to give you props because your energy that you were throwing out there for this pick, I think when we watched the radar all day long, leading up to the race, you'd see these squalls, and all of a sudden they just split and go right around the
They just broke
raceway or
right
whatever.
off.
It was
And there
pretty
are a
funny.
lot of people putting great cosmic energy in the world to make the Indy 500 go forward as scheduled, but I was one of them. So
And I brought my umbrella, so I was
you
too.
sure did.
So,
All right, so
so,
I end the day with +0. It's
and
been a
I
few
end the
weeks.
day.
I believe my total is 6 or something like
And
that.
we'll find out where I end the day on Wednesday or when we
You'll
talk on
either
Thursday. Yeah,
you'll either be +4.5 or minus three and a
three and a
half.
half. Right.
Speaking of, we'll find out on Thursday. Look, guys, Harvey and I wanted to do the team championship, but there is more math involved because there's extra drivers on some teams. And I'm not doing math after a 16-hour workday. I'm not doing math the morning after a 16-hour workday either. So
Yeah.
we're going to get you that information. We'll post it on infographics as soon as we have it, and then we'll talk about it at the podcast on Thursday
Yeah.
and what it means for the teams.
Going into the Detroit race. So, for Rides and Drives Team Radio, this is the end of our Indy 500 coverage for 2026. It feels sad to say it, but we have had a great time bringing our thoughts on the 500 to you, on qualifying, on the race, on everything, the vibe. We'll be continuing to post a lot of stuff on our social channels throughout the week because we were busy working. We couldn't post everything we grabbed at the race. So take a look for that. And yeah, we'll see you on Thursday to talk about the Detroit Grand Prix.
Yeah, I know. The great thing about the Indy 500 is that while you are sad when it's over, you've got so much season left ahead of you. And the Detroit race is typically a banger. So I'm pretty excited going in. Can't wait to share some more of that content, scenes from Indy that Harvey talked about. Keep an eye on Fast Car Kaz, Harvey_drives, or Rides and Drives Team Radio to take a look at that. Otherwise, we're out for the next few days. We're going to get some sleep, and then we will see you all in Detroit.
For Rides and Drives Team Radio, I'm Harvey. She's Kaz, and we are out.
Drive safe, everybody.